I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Grant has bagged himself an absolute rotter of a Porsche Boxster and now he's going to force us all to watch as he attempts to fix various bits of it. Well, that might be true to some degree, but believe it or not, this little car that I've managed to bag for £3,000 is actually in quite good condition. I'm calling it £2,999 because there was a quid under the seat and I'm taking that as a win. So it's a 2.7, it's blue. I am genuinely quite excited about this. I've wanted a Boxster for so long, and look, I've finally got my very own one. So in this video, a couple of things we need to do. I'm going to show you the car first off. There's a repair we need to make to it before we can drive it on the road. It's got 2 broken front springs, and then we'll take it for a little drive, shall we? My little slice of the car that saved Porsche. Let's get into it. Now, before we get started, I need you to remember that old saying, don't judge a book by its cover. Because yes, it might be a little bit ratty, but I believe at its core, we've got ourselves a fantastic little Porsche Boxster here. So let's start with the basics. It's a year 2000 car, although you really wouldn't think it, would you? You would not think that's a 25-year-old car at this point. Private plate covers it up nice, doesn't it? Interesting note on that though. The seller wants it back, and I've basically said to him, well, if you can get me the little bit of missing service history on the car, the last 3-4 years are a bit hazy, the book hasn't been stamped, and he says he's got the invoices tucked away somewhere. I've essentially said, well, if you can find them for me and give me those back, I'll give you the plate back. So there you go, Mexican plate standoff. I mean, yes, this is much more of a risky purchase than my usual, I bought a Honda CR-V, but look at it. What an iconic little car. It takes me back to being an impressionable schoolboy playing that game. Porsche Challenge, I think it was called. I'll find a little clip of it here, maybe bring up some memories for those of you who played it as well. It must have been right around the time of release for these cars, and I guess it was a bit of a press thing for Porsche at the time, who were in a bit of trouble and hoping the Boxster was going to turn their fates around, which it did very successfully. And for that reason alone, well, it's iconic, isn't it? Anyway, engines in the 986 Boxster. So originally it came with a 2.5 engine. It was a flat 6, of course. That then changed to the later 2.7 flat 6, which is the one that this car has. And if you bought an S Boxster, that came with a 3.2 litre flat 6. Now, in terms of issues with them, why they're a bit of a risky purchase and why people tend to be a little bit frightened of these cars is because of one thing. It's the IMS bearing. So deep tucked in that engine, you've got a bearing which holds on to an intermediate shaft. Now that bearing can become worn with no notice to the driver. You don't know it's happening, the bearing becomes worn. That shaft starts to move about deep in there underneath that convertible roof. It knocks the timing off for the engine, and before you know it, you are faced with a very hefty bill for a replacement engine. Between that and a few other relatively expensive problems, especially given what the cars are worth now, I think that is why they're so cheap, because people are just a bit frightened of them. They're frightened to buy the cheap car and end up with the same bill in order to fix it and get it running right, and I can completely understand that. However, that's exactly what we're going to get into in the little series that I'm going to start with this car. So with the help of a Porsche specialist friend, we're going to dig into it and we're going to find an answer. Should you actually go buying one of these cars? Consider me the guinea pig. So hit subscribe now if you want to follow along and see updates with this car. Now, I don't usually make a point of talking about tyres, but the tyre situation on this car is absolutely dire. So on the front, you'd be mistaken to look and go, a set of Dunlops, that ain't too bad. However, these particular Dunlops are amongst some of the most cracked tyres I've ever seen. They also look a bit misshapen, a bit square, don't they? So we've got new tyres on the way. We need to get them swapped out fairly urgently. And on the back, don't worry, the previous owner has swapped them out for me and he's put the old Genues on, the Genu Ballo Pro, and I mean, look at that. Whilst I was looking for a 986 Boxster, my friend, who is the Porsche specialist, believe it or not, he actually tried to talk me out of them because they are just getting a bit problematic at this point. A lot of them have seen quite a bit of abuse, missed services and so on. And he basically said, well, why don't you just go for a 987? It would be a far better bet. There's like 5 or 6 or 7 years less corrosion and damage and neglect on them. Why not just go for one of them? Because I didn't want one of them. There's an EV there. There's the problem with EVs. I did not hear that coming. They're smiling. It's all good. I'm awkward. Maybe we'll face this way so we can see cars coming down our road. Anyway, as I was saying, it's quite a recent realization that I just love 2000s cars. I love the curves, I love the quirks of them. And the 987 Boxster, the later Boxster, it just wasn't the same. Now, whilst we're here, this has actually reminded me of another problem this car has. So the key is a bit knackered. As you can see, there's only one key with it. I can't expect wonders, can I? And it's a bit knackered. None of the buttons actually work on it. So I've just been using the central locking, but each time I do that, it's obviously, yeah, you see my problem? It's obviously not disarming the alarm, so I'm gonna need to look into that as well. Love this little quirk underneath the driver's legs. A little place for the car's manuals and service book, and I tell you what, this will surprise you. Look at that, Porsche coming out its ears. An incredibly well-serviced car. As I say, the last 3-4 years are missing because it's been the guy's friend who's done the servicing. I kind of hate that. He does work for a garage though, don't get me wrong, it's better than it not being serviced, assuming it has actually been serviced. But the book is not stamped, so that plate, if you see that plate remain on the car, you know I haven't got my service history. We have got some knackered dampers. Let's try that again. I shall hold it. We've got a little spare wheel. How awesome is that? I need to pull it out of the packet one day and get a look at it. We've got a CD disc changer, which is no good to man nor beast at the moment because the radio doesn't work. And we have got our springs, which I guess we better get busy fitting. So we'll get the car pulled into the workshop. We will get the boys fed with some pizza so we can take this out on the road for a little bit of a rip. And I'll tell you how she drives. So everything started off really well on the front end of the car. That was until I took a walk under it and I noticed this. That, for the uninitiated, is brake fluid absolutely pouring out of 2 of my brake lines. Now, if one of these had completely let go, I would have had 0 brakes. Doesn't even bear thinking about, does it? So first job was to get both of these cut out so we could make up some new ones. So this is what remains of one of my brake lines from the rear of the car. It's completely corroded away, and when we were pressing the brake pedal with it up on the ramp, it was actually leaking onto the floor. It was just pouring out. I'm surprised we haven't had to top up the brake fluid, but then again, thankfully, I haven't driven it that much. This is why it pays to give your new purchase a bit of a check over, doesn't it? Especially if it is getting on for 25 years old. So the plan is, we've got some nice new material here. We're gonna cut some new brake lines, get them put on the car this evening. And whilst it's on the ramp, we might as well make the most of that and give it a quick service as well. Let's get into it. So whilst that drains, I'm gonna get the oil filter off, and obviously this is something that you would change during the service anyway, but on a Boxster, it's particularly important because we can get a look inside that filter and look for any little particles, and it can tell us quite a lot as to the health of that engine, what's going on inside it. Any little gold flakes, and that can be indicative that there's a problem with that IMS bearing, which everyone fears. Hopefully that's not gonna be the case. So here we go, filter off and moment of truth, and thankfully, it's not full of anything. It does actually look fairly recent, so I think the car has been serviced in the not too distant past. But yes, very empty indeed. If anything, we've got a couple of little bits of some sort of soft material that looks like some sort of gasket or maybe a sealer or something like that. So that's good news. It's just back to us once again. That was quite eventful. And I tell you what, quite indicative of old Boxster ownership, isn't it? Because it started out, I'm so excited, I've bought a cheap Boxster, £3,000, look at it, how amazing is this? Followed by, oh, we might have a couple of problems, which was followed by a downright dangerous problem, which is now followed by a lovely drive home in the sunset. That is old Boxster ownership 101. Listen to it though. Yes. Look, I know I'm like a broken record now, but I still can't believe how little money these Boxsters cost. I mean, £3,000, that's a service on more exotic cars at this point. It is not a lot of money to be going and buying a car whatsoever. And when it's like this, I mean, look at it. Can you think of a more exciting car for £3,000? I don't think I can. And I tell you what, this has come with age for me. Growing up, I was always excited to get onto the faster car, the more exciting car, the more expensive car. But now, it's liberating, isn't it? Having a car that's worth not an awful lot of money, it means you're not worried about it constantly. You'll leave it places with the roof off. You don't mind getting towed in with a set of spanners if you're a keen DIYer. It's liberating, that's the word. And I mean, look at it. On a night like this, roof off, I'm gonna have my tunes on in a minute. It's really hard to beat. No, it's not gonna be the fastest. It's not gonna be the most involving drive, although I must say, it does drive very well. We'll talk about that in a future video. But I'm just blown away by the value proposition that a Boxster brings to the table now. I really am. However, it does certainly show why you should be going and getting your new budget car inspected, doesn't it? I can't believe that brake line. Now, I did plan on doing a bit more driving and talking, but this video is probably long enough, so we'll get another video done. I'm gonna do this as a bit of a series as we bring this car up to spec, as we get the little jobs done, and hopefully wind up with what is a very nice little car, RS6. Now, as ever, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you're new here and you haven't already, please do hit the subscribe button, follow along with sweet little Sally the Boxster, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.